Con-Artimus Brintley, a fire, a burglary.
He just let the guy in here, and the guy basically came here and cased the place and came back the next day and robbed it.
Things got so bad for Artimus, he had to start a GoFundMe page.
We took him to Home Depot and bought more tools, and he took those with him when he left.
What more could go wrong for Sad of Hard Art?
Hey Artemis, how are ya? Rob Wolchek from Fox 2.
See, before you feel sorry for Artimus, a contractor who claims to be licensed and insured,
Don't you think that's misleading?
No.
you should know Artimus hasn't exactly been honest.
Are you a licensed contractor?
No.
He is definitely a liar.
Artimus or Con-Artimus?
Dude, that's just a full-on lie on your truck, man. I mean, if I hired you and, I mean, it says right on it, licensed and insured, and you're not. How much money did you give him altogether?
A little over $80,000.
Jody is a real estate broker who hired Artemis Building. She says Artemis said he and his crew could handle remodeling this house in Detroit and this house in Roseville. But she found out the hard way, Artemis didn't have much of a crew.
Artemis needed some construction help, so he asked the guy who was just walking around in the neighborhood if he wanted to make a few extra bucks, and invited him inside Jody's house.
According to the police report Jody filed, Mr. Helper came back later, broke in, and started hauling off Jody's new appliances. The burglary was captured on Jody's security camera. Also stolen, Artemis's tools. So Artemis went on Channel 7 News here in Detroit, talking about his misfortune, and started a GoFundMe page. And it worked.
He got offered jobs and work, and people donated tools. He made money from the GoFundMe and everything.
That's the voice of Jody's brother-in-law. He helped Artemis publicize his plight on his YouTube page. And Jody says she took Artemis to Home Depot and bought him new tools to keep working. Tools she said he kept even though he got more than $5,000 in donations. Next came the fire.
That was just carelessness. You know, he should know better than that.
He left a heat gun plugged in, and it was sitting on top of paint cans and next to paint thinner, on top of shims, a bag of shims, which is dry wood, and paint rags, and it caught fire.
In the police report Jody filed with the Detroit police alleging that he committed fraud, she says, Mr. Brintley's negligence also caused a fire at our property on 11/11/23, which resulted in $76,000 in damage.
You thinking he's insured, he's going to pay for this?
Absolutely.
And you found out?
We have no recourse.
Yep, Jody says her insurance company found out Artemis wasn't insured. According to the Michigan Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, he's not a licensed builder either. The Michigan State Police say his real name is Tyrone Artemis Brintley, and he's a convicted felon. He pled guilty to illegally carrying a concealed pistol in 2017. But Jody didn't fire the guy. Artemis owed her a lot of work. Work she says Artemis eventually just walked out on. He blocked her on his phone. Her house in Detroit still looks like this. Her house in Roseville looks even worse. Jody and her husband filed police reports in Detroit and Roseville alleging they were victims of fraud. The Detroit report states they learned that the offender was neither insured or licensed. It goes on saying neither Jody nor her husband has been able to get in contact with the offender since then. In Roseville, the detective wrote in her report, I advised Jody that Tyrone said he is licensed and insured. So Artemis is apparently sticking with his story. In Roseville, they determined this was a civil case. The Detroit case is currently under investigation and no charges have been filed at this point. None of this has stopped Artemis from looking for new customers. So we invite him to a house in Warren to give his pitch. But instead, he's gonna hear mine.
So you let a guy in the house to help you, right? Kind of like the neighborhood crackhead or something?
No, he wasn't a crackhead.
Okay, maybe he wasn't a crackhead, but he does appear to be a thief. Here's a guy Artemis says he hired carrying loot out of Jody's house.
It was kind of your fault that the guy came back and robbed the place, right?
Not at all.
No?
No.
What was his name?
Samuel, I believe his first name.
Samuel? Do you know his last name?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah. So you let a guy in to help you that you kind of hadn't vetted into her house. Who ended up coming
That's,
back and
that's what
robbing.
a contractor does when they hire.
Artemis is sticking to his poor me story. Same one he told on Channel 7 and on his GoFundMe page, where he raised more than $5,000 to buy new tools, even though he may not have needed them.
You got money for your tools, but didn't Jody buy you a bunch of tools too?
No, she only bought, what was it, a saw, like a table saw?
Here's the receipt Jody gave me. There are tools on it, and there is a table saw.
So did you ever give that back?
Yes. That money.
You gave that back to her?
That's correct.
Then he says,
Why is she telling me opposite of that?
No, I didn't give her tools back.
then there's the fire. The fire Jody thought the contractor's insurance would cover.
They say you started the fire,
And that's incorrect. We are insured.
but you weren't insured at the time, correct?
I believe it did lapse one week or so.
Okay, but that was when the fire happened. So she had to eat the cost because you weren't insured, but you were the contractor, right?
The head contractor, but not the contractor that started the fire.
If Artemis actually had a contractor's license, he'd know it's his contract. He's responsible for the whole project and the subcontractors.
Why don't you just get a contractor's license?
I should. I could.
Could he? Remember, he's got that firearm felony.
I actually never went to go get my license for anything.
Well, why don't you? Well, you obviously didn't have a license for the gun either.
That's correct.
Did you bail out on the job in Roseville or wherever that other house is?
After I learned that she was coming after me, yes. And then we owe her about $6,000 or something, or around those numbers.
Jody says he owes her much more, but he admits he owes her $6,000. She'd happily accept it, but
You blocked her, right, on the phone?
Yeah.
Her and her husband? Why is that?
I was advised to, and then
Who's advising you this stuff? I mean, to me, the advice, if I was your attorney, and I'm not an attorney, but if I was your attorney, I would be like, hey, you're running a construction company, why don't you go get a contractor's license?
with that, Artemis departimuses. You need to give that money back to Jody and her husband. I don't know who you are. You're driving around in a truck that says licensed and insured, and you're not. Artemis, you're not too smartimus. You're in the Hall of Shame.